This is Prep Period, an all-sports podcast by the Ventura County Star and the people at VCS Preps.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Prep Period, the Ventura County Stars all sports podcast. My name is Dominic Massimino. He is Joe Curley. We are sports reporters here at the Ventura County Star. The football season has come to an end. It's been a long road, Joe.
Longest.
How cool was this season for you, covering two teams making it all the way to state?
So this was my 25th year doing this, and this was certainly one of the most memorable. It's the first time we've ever had two teams go all the way to the 16th game. Unfortunately, both came up a little short, but it was a pleasure to be part of the ride with the Tritons and the Cougars, and really proud of the performances of Ventura County at large. Was an incredible year full of incredible performances, and really looking forward to following a lot of these kids as they continue their football careers at the next levels. And I think it's pretty fair to say that the state of Ventura County football is strong, my man. Strong.
I was waiting for that. Yeah, I mean, been cool having this podcast has coincided with this football season, so they will be forever tied together, the debut season of Prep Period, and us talking about these guys not just in ink on the page, but with our voices with you guys. And so pretty cool season to have that be the case for. Let's go through and talk about these games. Let's talk chronologically. So
rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off. So I mean, anyone who follows our work knows what we're gonna talk about, what we're gonna say. I think Joe and I think we did a good job of kind of summing up what happened in these games. So Friday night, I'm at Fullerton Union High School District Stadium down in Fullerton for Ventura to play St. Ignatius, the West Catholic League, or what's the name of the league?
Yeah, West Catholic Athletic League, I believe is the full. In the Bay Area, they use Athletic League a lot.
Yeah, very a powerhouse league in the Bay Area for football, and yeah, St. Ignatius showed it in this game. They end up taking down Ventura, ending the incredible season for the Cougars, the deepest run they've ever made in a 42-35 victory. The story of the game is, this Ventura team. Joe, you've spent a lot of time with them this year. I've spent a lot of time with them this year. We've seen them play a lot. They weren't themselves in this game. There were, just so many mistakes, so many errors. It's the lead of the story. This is a team that's executed at such a high level throughout the postseason. They just were building momentum every week after a slow start to the year, and just were uncharacteristically, they had some blunders. That's the best way to say it. Do you have a thought?
No, I mean, I think, it's difficult for us because, as community journalists, as journalists who cover high school kids, we're trained. I especially was trained, not really to point fingers. You cover, my boss, Larry Ames, taught me, you cover a baseball game and the shortstop makes an error. You don't essentially write Jack made an error, But I think, in the big moments, I thought it was really, you had an increasingly difficult job putting together that story I don't think you could tell the story without mentioning the mistakes, because, I think, everybody's last high school football game is something they remember forever. Everybody's state championship, a championship game is something you remember forever. And so, what happened on Friday night, I'm sure is going to be the topic of a conversation in those, among those families forever. And it's going to hurt. And, because I know that Ventura feels like they could have won the game. I'm sure a lot of them feel like they should have won the game. And without kind of the mistakes, they would have won the game. But that's what a championship game does. The team, a lot of times, the team that makes the fewest mistakes wins. And, I think in both, what concerned me going in, even though I picked both of our teams to win, because we're not going to get to week 16 and I'm not going to pick our teams. But I think the thing that concerned me going into from both teams' perspective is that I thought St. Ignatius had played a schedule that was tougher than Ventura. They come out of that tough league. They played better teams. They were used to playing teams that were good, even though they got whooped by better teams,
Mm.
right? So even though Ventura had the better record, St. Ignatius had been on the field against better teams. And I think that's also the case when we'll get to Pacifica, where the thing that concerned me about Pacifica was that they were playing a team that had been to the state championship games the same years that they had been,
Mm.
but they had been at a higher level. So I think in both games, both of our teams were kind of punching up. But I'm sure Ventura is disappointed with the way that things, because if they play their normal, if they you take away those mistakes, I'm sure they feel like they win the game.
Yeah. Coach Garcia says after that game, it felt like we were on our back foot the whole game. It felt like we were kind of on our heels. And, Ventura has been great this postseason when they've been the aggressor, when they've been the one applying pressure to other teams. And you have to imagine that
That's what they did.
yeah, you have to imagine that the reason they're feeling like they're on their back foot is just those uncharacteristic mistakes that came up to bite them. I mean, it starts on the first drive of the game. Derek Garcia looks like, looks like Houdini out there, escapes the pocket for a couple of huge runs. We tweeted out one of those videos. He I think he hit the spin, whatever the spin button is in Madden. He hit it like 4 times in a row.
It's circle.
Yeah.
It's got to be circle, isn't it? I don't know.
And spins out of tackle, gets like 25. He runs again to get them, down into the red zone. And then, Ventura fumbles on the 5-yard line. St. Ignatius recovers. It's one of those big momentum swing plays that Ventura was doing to other teams this season. Like, you look back at that Ventura Moore Park game, the blocked field goal on that opening drive, the first time they played in league, a first drive kind of play takeaway that changes the dynamic of a game. They're on the losing end of one of those to start this game, and no mistake was bigger than those back-to-back penalties for having 12 men on the field to start the fourth quarter. St. Ignatius is trying to punt away. It's 4th and 11. Ventura needs to let them punt away the ball and get possession, and you have a chance to tie the game back up. And they give up one. It's 4th and 6. They give up another. It's 4th and 1. St. Ignatius goes for it on 4th and 1. They convert. They go down and score, and it's a 2-possession game. And that's kind of where the Cougars were kind of clawing back for the rest of the game. They come back down. A very successful drive set up by a big pass to get out of their own territory to Woodworth. A big James Watson run. But then they're forced to burn a couple of timeouts because they can't get the play call in. They close within a score to bring it to the final score, 42-35, on a touchdown pass to Tristan Phillips from Derek Garcia. But they don't have timeouts. They can't stop the clock. St. Ignatius run game was successful all night, and they're able to convert, get that first down, and kneel out the clock. So, it's kind of those pressure points, just those 3-4 moments where Ventura wasn't itself. The one of the silver linings of this game, if you can call it that, was the history made by senior receiver Jack Cunningham, moved into 3rd place on the state all-time list for receiving yards in a single season. He finishes with 2,141 yards this year and 27 touchdowns on 124 receptions. Just an incredible year for him, an incredible year for Derek Garcia at quarterback, an incredible season for Tristan Phillips at linebacker. Those three kind of the core of that Cougars senior group that's moving on to play in college, but has done so much for this program. The most kind of gut-wrenching quote that I got was from James Watson, the transfer running back, who had an excellent game, an excellent second half of the season once he was playing after the sit-out period. He says, those guys are my big brothers. If I had them all right in front of me right now, I would just say thank you for everything they've done for us. And you have those those younger guys, Watson, Savage, coming back. Hopefully they learn from the experience and kind of keep that that legacy going.
Yeah, 2141, that's the number. He has reset, the elite, what it means to be an elite receiver in this county. We've had Shane Rosenthal and Jack Cunningham essentially simultaneously, and they set the new standard with their great. Both of them had elite quarterbacks. Both took advantage of their opportunities, and I hope they both go on to long careers. I think both of these games come down to, and we'll get to Pacific in a second, both these games come down to a fourth down talking point. For Ventura, it's the fourth, where both teams are on the cusp of getting back in the game, have a chance to tie the game and extend the game. We might have, in an alternate universe, we might have had an overtime game this weekend, but, Ventura's down, 35, 24, 28, and all they have to do is let St. Ignatius punt the ball to them. And so I credit the Ventura brain trust, credit the Ventura kids for answering the tough questions and stepping up. I thought
seriously,
Coach Garcia's quotes were phenomenal in that, I think a lesser coach might have run from that. I think it was, part of the head coach's role is to step up and answer the tough questions in a big moment like that. And I was very impressed with the way Ventura handled, the way that game played out. And then the Pacifica game, I guess we'll pivot to Pacifica. Everything kind of comes down to a 4th and 4 late where they're down 30. Was it the same score? 35-28.
I believe it was.
Both teams were down 35-28, middle of the fourth quarter, trying to get the ball back to have a chance to tie the game. And that's when both games essentially ceased to be competitive situations. Pacifica, they have a little bit of a different ride where they score to go up first. They go up 7-0. They do a great job defensively in the first half. Most of the first half, they're up 7-0 midway through the second quarter, essentially defanging an offense that had just been mauling teams throughout the postseason. I mean, they put up a 70 burger in one playoff game. They, Central East had really not been had played a bunch of uncompetitive games and had beaten had put up 50 points at least in almost every one of their playoff games. And the question going into it was, okay, were they playing good teams? Were they playing teams that were not competitive? Like, where did these huge scores come from? Is Central really that good, or are they playing lesser competition? And I think what we found out was that they were playing good teams, that this team was legit. Yep. And because we talked a ton in the pregame about Brandon Smith and the Pacifica. We said the whole game was going to come down to Brandon Smith and the Pacifica linebacking core. And I actually think I thought Pacifica did a great job on Smith. Was phenomenal. Smith is a great, Arizona's got a great running back. He runs for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns on 27 carries. And I actually think Pacifica did a great job on him.
Agreed. That wasn't the game.
That wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
That wasn't the issue. The issue is Bayon Harris, the 6'4", 185-pound, run like a deer. I think he's a 10.5. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of scholarship offers. Bayon Harris is a kid who doesn't just look like a D1 receiver. He looks like an NFL receiver. He's like AJ Brown at 6'4". He was incredible. He injured one of Pacifica's linebackers, tried to make a tackle, and ended up with a broken nose and a concussion. That's how physically dominant this receiver was. So Harris ends up 14 targets, 11 catches, 175 yards, and a touchdown. He had a 90-yarder called back So if that thing it doesn't get called for a hold, he's at 260 and 2 touchdowns. He also set up uh, Brandon Smith's 3 touchdowns. Two of those are set up by Harris. So
Yeah.
and he also scored one of the most important touchdowns, which was their first.
I was gonna say
Um,
that the running back, scores are he finished those drives for Central East, but the real suck the air out of the room plays in this
yeah.
game were from just that incredible receiver. I mean, it was as somebody who was home watching the stream, bugging Joe while he's trying to cover this game, like I was just in awe watching this kid play. So, I mean, you you kind of couldn't ask to lose in a state championship game to a better team. They were pretty incredible.
Um,
I got a
so
question.
and,
I got
and
a
the,
question for you, Joe. If you, I mean,
what's up?
we are not. We are. We will never have the football knowledge or mind of or we won't even have a percentage of the football knowledge or mind of anyone on this Pacifica High staff. But just the two of us, what little we know, what did you make of the defensive game plan? The way that Central East was able to just attack Pacifica in the secondary in the passing game. It was something that we weren't really like we said earlier in the show, something we weren't really prepared for to see in this game.
So I think it was just the bind of those two stars. You couldn't put all the resources into stopping Smith and then have the resources you needed to stop Harris.
Mm.
I mean, I think, and I also think it shows you where the strength of the Pacifica defense was at the linebacking core. Typically Pacifica historically had a Division I second. I just think the timing of it was rough for the Tritons because the team that won the state championship 5 years ago, six, whatever it was in 2019, had Division I secondary pieces. All the teams since have had Division I secondary pieces that you could put on. One of them is going to be a teammate of EJ Harris, the guy who makes the play on the fourth down at Cal. If you'd have had a Devin Pugh or you had, any number of Josh Joyner, like any number of great Pacifica. I'm not saying this was I just maybe they have never had a player that could handle Bayon Harris.
And
But
maybe here's the moment to talk about just a little bit of the officiating, which I appreciated the way that you
yeah,
brought it up in your story because I'm sensitive. I'm always sensitive to our, not being homers in our writing, of being as accurate and fair to both teams as possible. I thought you were as accurate and fair as possible talking about the way this game was officiated, especially when it came to the calls that went against the Pacifica secondary. Can you talk about that a little
so
bit?
well, I will say that the second touchdown. So Central East scores. Harris catches a touchdown ball, make it 7-7. Pacifica goes 3-and-out. They punt the ball away, and essentially Fresno East goes nowhere. But a series of secondary flags essentially give them another touchdown. And some of them are like some of the worst PI calls that we've seen all year. There was one, the first one, there's on a third down, there's nothing there. Like it's not a flag. And this is supposed to be like a college crew that knows what they're doing. And like, so I'll criticize them because they're a college crew. I wouldn't criticize a high school crew, but like, well, maybe I would, but I wouldn't as hard as I would a college crew. I
I
mean,
was like,
there's
nah,
some
yeah, you would.
really some brutal calls. And so the second flag, you can literally see the two players, you know, contact each other, and the Central East player dives. It was like a soccer dive. It was like diving in the box for a penalty. As a soccer guy, it reminded me of your favorite, Cristiano Ronaldo going down in the box to get a penalty. And
Mm.
like, if you're like, I don't know how you can't see that's not a flag. Like it's obvious. It's obvious when we see it in the soccer field. It's obvious. So I thought that 7 points right there should not have happened. Without that 7 points, it's a totally different game. There's also multiple scoring drives later in the game in the second half that are extended by holding calls. There was one. So, and I'm talking with, I know the other reporters, and we're talking this through, and the general consensus was that I wasn't being a homer, that a lot of those calls were really rough on Pacifica. But some of it is that there is an element there where you're trying to defend the undefendable, and you have to do anything. Some of those were holds, some of them were PIs, but I think on the whole, it started really poorly, and I think it got worse. And I think it kept Pacifica from really. It's going to change. I've talked to Coach Moon already. It's going to change the way that they play defense and prepare for these type of games in the future.
Yeah.
They already have a plan for what they're going to do in the future in these games that are going to be different when. And I think this Pacifica secondary did not have any. It's hard to go from having no issues all year to like having to play a team like this. So I'm not going to criticize the Pacifica secondary because they had a great year and they just came up against a team that was that had multiple Division I receivers, including one that I swear, if Van Harris isn't an NFL player, it's not going to be on talent. He's got NFL talent. And then we haven't even talked about they lose the game. It's 4th and 4
because of an incredible catch. That was not that was not a routine catch.
The fateful 35-28 situation where Pacifica needs to get one more stop to get the ball back, have a chance to tie the game. There's 6 minutes left. It's in my story. And to be honest, it was 1st and 25. There was a holding call. So we talked about the evenness of the refs. There was a whole bunch of holding calls on Pacifica going into this game, thought that they were going to be able to win up front. Now they didn't win up front. I don't think in either direction, but there was a lot of holding calls that put Central East in the holes when they weren't able to score points earlier in the first half, earlier in the game. A lot of that was because they were in a hole because they had a bunch of holding flags. So there's one team was getting holding calls in the secondary, one team was getting holding calls on the offensive line. So in that regard, in my story, I think it ended up canceling each other out and being fair, and probably the right team won the game. But it gets to a sticking point at 4th and 4 at the very end of, in the middle of the fourth quarter, where Pacifica forces Central East to make one of the greatest plays I have ever seen in a clutch spot, not even in high school, but anything. That
over
is
his shoulder, having to track the ball with the defender right there on him. Wow.
I wasn't EJ. We got to get that name right. I wasn't an EJ Morgan. I wasn't a Cal receiver, but I was a receiver, and catching the ball over your helmet, tracking the ball, and then catching it is the hardest thing to do as a receiver. That's the toughest catch. And Pacifica made EJ Morgan and Fresno Central East pull, in the biggest moment, make the biggest play. So kudos to them. That's why they deserved the state championship game. And you got to tip your cap because, you got to see the highlight of that play. And it was an unbelievable play.
And how about the cojones on Coach Biggs on 4th and 4 to throw? All credit to Jelani Dipple, the quarterback for Central East. He had an incredible year. He had a bunch of incredibly clutch plays in this game, but they had some trouble kind of timing up, especially on it wasn't a go ball that EJ catches there, but they had some trouble timing up, a couple of overthrows, a couple of underthrows, and he sits there in that biggest moment and he trusts his quarterback to make that throw, and that's more power to him. It was an incredible play and gutsy call.
That was the backbreaker. From there, Smith gets his third touchdown run and the game is over. And I think it's a hard. I shied away from the post game, of conveying kind of the emotion of the Pacifica kids. This was a team that has now lost back-to-back state championship games. Think about all that you put in for so long. And to come up short in week 16 is just absolutely rough. And so there was a lot of tears. Other outlets reported, reported who was crying. And I'm not going to, I think it shows how much it means. But I also thought that junior class really showed, who their mettle, because they stood up and they took questions. I talked to both Taylor Lee and Isaiah Phelps after the game. Isaiah Phelps was taking blame for the loss. And I was like, no, You ran for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns and had 10 tackles and a sack on defense and have
He
been
was everywhere.
arguably one of the best two-way players in the state, if not the country, the last month, 2 months of the season. Like the kid absolutely has lived up to his 4-star hype.
The
And
craziest
so,
thing about that is that that's not for show. I mean, I'm sure he believes that. That's the heart of
yeah,
an incredible competitor who's going to be playing for a long time into the future. Is he believes that he is destined to be a great player and should be a great player now. I'm sure, and so anything that's less than perfection and a win, feels like his responsibility. It's just a
and then
credit to the kid.
and then Taylor Lee, I think it's quintessential quarterback, where the kid was the open for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. He's leading that first touchdown drive. As he's leading the first touchdown drive on ESPN or ABC, I don't know what it aired on, but there's literally a featurette in which Pacifica High is featured, and he's featured in the Heisman Trophy ceremony. It's like him throwing balls at Pacifica. I don't know if it was his bedroom, but he's
Push-ups
waking
in
up
his
in the
bedroom.
morning
Yeah.
and like doing everything, and he's in the gym at Pacifica lifting, and he's out on the field, and they're showing him interspersed with the finalists of that award. And so he's got this huge moment where he's on a national broadcast. His face is there on a national broadcast, symbolizing like where these players started. And he goes out, he breaks Brady Smigel's single season Ventura County touchdown pass record, 53. Two huge moments on that day, and he didn't want to hear about either of them in that moment because obviously he had just lost a state championship game, which to him was the one thing that mattered on that day. So, I think that said a lot about Taylor Lee, who was also banged up playing. I'm sure he got hurt during the game, and so did not come out of the game despite what appeared to be a non-throwing shoulder injury or a collarbone, some sort of upper body on the other side of the shoulder pad. So I just think that it was a great game between two great teams, and Central East showed that they were the better team and had, and I'm sure both teams are going to end that experience with regrets, but. Overall, considering what they've done, they're both CIF champions. They're both Southern California regional champions. They both will have rings, rings on rings on rings. They just, in order to win a state championship, there's a reason why it's, the toughest game to win because you're going to play another team that deserves to win a state championship. So, anyway, kudos to the Tritons and the Cougars. And it'd be really interesting to see who turns the page and what these teams look like next year.
Yeah, that's what a great way to end our live coverage of football this season. I don't want to say to end our coverage because we have a couple of things coming up that we will talk about to kind of tie a bow on this season for football. An incredible year, but yeah, thank you to all of you guys for following along, reading our stuff, listening to the pod, being fans of football in the 805. It's been pretty cool. One last little bit of football. Do you want to jump ahead to second period? Did we do stat of the week?
So the Deuce stat of the week was essentially Taylor Lee breaking Smigel's touchdown pass record and Cunningham setting the county record at 2141 for receiving yardage. So I think
a record-breaking weekend. Those
are the hurdles as a track guy. The bar to go over for the next generation has been set, and I'm sure again as we records are meant to be broken, so we'll see how long those records stay.
So moving into kind of the beginning of off-season news here, some news out of Westlake Village. Oaks Christian and head coach Charlie Collins parting ways. The Lions were 58-34 in 8 seasons under Collins, who earned the full-time job after taking over on an interim basis in 2018 and directing the Lions to a 12-1 season that year. An incredible job that Coach Collins did over there. But yeah, Oaks Christian opening up that job. I saw the posting, I think, the other day. Just what was your kind of reaction to this, given how the the Lions have played in recent years.
I mean, there's a really high, the demands of the Oaks Christian job. You're taking over for Bill Riddell and Jim Benkert, who both, um, won CIF championships. Bill won multiple CIF championships, kind of invented what Oaks Christian football was. Taking over a team that a school that essentially was built in 01, I think, right after the millennium, and was one of the that was a dominant small school force, showed that they could step up to the big school, large school. Had one of the more lauded high school teams in national history with the Jimmy Claus and Mark Tyler team that beat St. Bonaventure, in one of the biggest games in local history. Jim Bankert comes and does arguably the greatest season in Oaks history, or at least the biggest win, which was their Division II CIF championship in 2017. He leaves the team, and Collins is the offensive coordinator on that team. He takes over in 2018. Oaks, when Oaks is firing on all cylinders, they're the best program around. And so there's a different kind of, the expectations at Oaks Christian are different than, maybe a public high school, in the Conejo Valley or elsewhere. And so, I mean, the guy won 63% of his games. And this year they start, they're playing the toughest schedule around. They played Santa Margarita, which won the Open Division, is going to be the team of the year in the state. They played Sierra Canyon, who arguably was, also one of the best teams in the country. They're playing the best of the best, and so they start 1-4. They 1-5. They lose their quarterback. Their quarterback walks, and so it was a difficult season for Oaks. But even starting 1-5, they came back. They competed in the Marmani League. They make it to the semifinals of the section, and it's not enough. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see where they go. Who's the candidate? Is it going to be a local candidate? Is it going to be a national candidate? They said that they would be looking at both in the press release, announcing the start of their search. There's already been, people that are linking, interest with Mike Moon. Obviously, if you're going to have a local candidate, why not go for the guy that is the first coach in county history to go to 3 state championship bowls? So of course they would be interested in Mike Moon. You see the success of Westlake this year. Rick Clausen's a former Oaks Christian assistant coach. So, on the record, both of those guys have denied interest to me, but who knows what's happening behind the scenes. It's a very good job with, very good benefits. And, but I don't know. I think it would be really interesting if, obviously Rick Clausen would have success there. He's shown he had success at Calabasas. He showed what he could do at Westlake. I think, I've been told that he's happy at Westlake and tends to stay at Westlake. So, but I can see him having success at Oaks. I think if Mike Moon got hired as the coach of Oaks Christian, that would be trouble for every other program locally, because you're talking about somebody with huge ties to the West County sitting in the big private school powerhouse in the East County. So now, I don't know if it's a good fit for Mike. I don't know if he would, if that works for him there, but I could see the football wise, you're talking about somebody who would bring, think of the talent that's at Pacifica now. If that talent was at Oaks Christian, followed by what you could do in the Conejo Valley and the east side of the west side of the valley. I mean, I think that's no wonder there's already linking. There's already reports that they're linking Moon to that job, because I'm sure Mike Moon would go there, and all of a sudden Oaks Christian would be an absolute beast again. So, I will say officially that I think the hire is going to be somebody else. That's my gut, but I haven't talked to anybody else yet.
That is not reporting, but that is your informed.
This is my, like I said, I haven't talked to anybody at Oaks yet. We've been busy with state championship stuff. Um, and so, but I think, yeah, who knows? But look at what we've said over and over again. Coaches are programs. Look at what Carson Palmer has done at Santa Margarita. You make the right hire, all of a sudden Oaks Christian could be, you know, Division II champion, Open Division champion. You know, if you do what Santa Margarita just did, Oaks Christian has the potential to turn around like that program.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were literally on the same football field just a couple months ago. So, you know, it'd be a really interesting thing to follow as we go forward, because it's gonna have huge ramifications in the Marmani League going forward. Who coaches Oaks Christian obviously is a huge deal in local football. So we will be paying attention, seeing what the Brain Trust is doing over there.
And the
you got anything on that? Anything you want to share?
I mean, no. I'm gonna keep the only thoughts I have to myself. We'll see what happens.
I'm the only one that's got to. Oh, I'm just kidding.
We're
putting out there. We'll see. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
It would be
20, what according to. I'm wrong 30% of the time. So.
The most like interesting thing to talk about with the whole. I mean, so we talked about two, possible hires, and Rick Lawson, who has history with that program. I mean, he's been in that locker room. He's coached for that team, and you talk about Mike Moon. Those are like the two kind of fun candidates to talk about. It would be shocking to me if Mike Moon left Pacifica for just not even behind the scenes. Anytime you talk to Mike Moon about his program, about the kids at Pacifica, about the kids who he coaches, I mean, there is like a familial father-like pride of those kids, of what they have built there, of what, it's just
and the underdog nature of what it means to be a Pacifica head coach, which would be totally flipped.
Yeah, it goes from being exactly what you just said.
So I'll say this: I cannot imagine Mike Moon leaving that junior class after what they've been through the last 2 years, after what next year could be, the job of them finishing. I don't think he would make that move unless he was forced to. So Mike Moon's not going anywhere. He's literally, like I said earlier in the pot, they're already talking about ways that they're going to defend, what they're going to coach the secondary to do next season when they're back in the state playoffs again. So, I don't see him being on the move at all, unless for some reason he's pushed out. Which, why would you push out the best coach in the area right now, considering Pacifica is the big dog at the moment?
Yeah.
I had another one.
Yeah, you had a little,
Tarek.
Yeah.
Tarek from SI, and our friend, former Moore Park College basketball player. Tarek, when he wrote his story about this, he linked Oaks Christian to Andrew Whitworth, which is interesting. Who I've obviously, when I covered the Rams, I interviewed Mr. Whitworth, who is would be a phenomenal hire for anybody. Obviously, he has ties to Westlake at the moment, because I believe he has at least one, if not two, of his kids going there or will be going there soon. So I think that's the same. I think that would be the same as Coach Clausen moving over. You could walk from Westlake to Oaks Christian. Obviously, there's the former rivalry that is paused at the moment between the two schools. And the way things are going, I think you could honestly look at Westlake being back in the Romani League, back playing Oaks Christian within 2 years.
Yeah.
If Clausen stays at Westlake. So I don't know if I would have linked Whitworth to Oaks Christian either. But that's what Tarek did. And we'll see. Those are the three names to kind of think about locally. And again, my gut is somebody from outside coming in.
Gotcha. Well, so the last opportunity for local high school football fans to see high school football players, high school flag football players, is going to be at the National Football Foundation All-Star Game which you're going to cover because you're still around.
You got it last
I'll
year.
be jet setting off to
Nice.
off to a beach somewhere. But yeah, tell us about that game and what you're most excited to see.
Yeah, so we had the first edition of this game last year at Simi Valley High. From you can speak about that. You cover that game. Flag football is going to be 4 o'clock on Saturday at Simi Valley. Tackle football is going to be at 7. To me, the really cool aspect of this last year, the West team was Ventura County and LA County together. So you had a rooting interest, but it still wasn't a total Ventura County team. The hook that when I wrote about this earlier is that it's, for the first time since 1972, Ventura County has a team Ventura County. It's essentially going to be all our kids.
That is really cool.
Essentially our all county team playing a football game, which is, people, when we tell people that they've been selected to the all county team, a lot of times you get in soccer and other sport, oh, is there a game? Is there a game we get to play?
Yeah.
And this could be kind of that version of a game.
Yeah.
Dustin Kroik from Agora is coaching the team. You've got Gavin Gray, the Agora quarterback, is it's a big day for him. Potentially gets to flex as he's still trying to get a scholarship, kind of flexes his skills on playing with. You got Jace Franco and Jeremiah Barrios from St. Bonaventure are confirmed. Also, how about a defensive line that includes Matt Perez,
God, I'm reading it
Ryan
right now.
Schlumbo, Dean, and Isaac Simpson together. So the guy, the two of the better defensive players in Ventura County history, certainly the last 10, 20 years, playing side by side. So Jackson Roberts and Shane Feller in the backfield together. Tyler Starling obviously going to be catching balls from Gavin Gray.
You want to say anything about Shane Feller?
Jessica Alba, Shane Feller, future Sage Hen. Let's go.
Future Pomona
committed
Pitzer,
to Pomona Pitzer. So congratulations to him for donning the orange and blue. And those are some of the names. Juju Hernandez of Pacifica, and Jesse DeAlba of the bunch of Ventura. I love the fact that Ventura and Pacifica were playing football last week, and these kids are just going to go right into an all-star game. So there's been a lot, over the years, not controversy, but discussion about when this game should take place, and should it be in the summer, should it be in February? Now it's right before Christmas, which is the reason why one of the best players, the flag football game, is not going to be there. So there's never a perfect weekend to put this game out there, but I mean, I think this could work. The flag head coach is Simi Valley's Tanya Wiseman, and just some of the players who are committed to play for the West, which is also going to be a Ventura County team. Greta Heath, the Marmani League MVP, the Newbury Park quarterback, is going to play in it. Addison Klotch, who happens to be one of the best locally in another sport. Stay tuned.
So cool.
She'll play for Agora. She's an Agora kid who's going to play for Team Ventura County. Alexis Scott of Simi Valley. Vanessa Cano, the quarterback of Oxnard, is committed. Shea Torres of Ventura. So it's going to be fun. And I know that what were your memories of covering the first edition of this game last year?
Yeah, I have two things. I mean, first off, that was I got out and covered a couple of flag games in my tumultuous first season at the Star, but it really was kind of one of my first opportunities to just be there start to finish of a game and just watch and enjoy. And even though it was an all-star game, it was just so exciting, so fun, super competitive. Both teams wanted to win. It was just very cool, and a cool way to kind of as a fan of these teams and stuff, you're trying to track them all over the county and see all of these players, and it's a cool place to finally get to see every single one of them on the field together, or a vast majority of them. So that was really cool. And then last year, the way that we kind of wrote the story last year on the football game was it's the last opportunity, as you mentioned with Gavin Gray from Agora. It's the last opportunity to kind of show off what you got and put on those pads one last time for the seniors, and it was the opportunity last year, really cool to see Ethan Lasekla play against big time Marmani League talent and stuff, and he shined in that game. Everybody was talking about him afterwards because he showed he could compete with those guys. I think he's at Moore Park College now. But it was unclear what he was going to do, if he was going to be able to play at the next level, because he'd been
there were some D3 offers or stuff.
Yeah.
He had a lot of opportunity to pick through, and I think he was a running back this year mostly with the Raiders. So
yeah.
Interesting.
So that's like another fun aspect of it, is like seeing guys who don't necessarily get to play, against each other. Although this year they'll be playing on the same team, so that's a different dynamic. But just getting to see those guys all together on the field, and last opportunity to show out.
And I have to remind everybody that flag football is in its infancy, but you go out there. I was telling our player of the year doing my interview yesterday that the first time I went out to that all county, they didn't have CIF play the first year 2 years ago, and we had an all county tournament to end the year, and I'm watching it, and it's just like so entertaining and riveting and fun. Flag football is a heck of a good time. And these girls are pioneers because, like we said with Addison Clutch, many of them play other sports. And the sport has been uniquely embraced by the local, female athletic community. All of them are, so many of these girls are already big stars in their own sport. And then they add flag football, and they're just, I just think that, years from now, when flag football is this huge thing, and you've got, Notre Dame playing USC in flag football, and you've got the WNFL, which is all, by the way, coming.
Yeah.
It's all going to happen. We are going to remember how this sport came out of nowhere and just captured, girls' imaginations and changed the way, football was always a guy's sport. Now it's a sport for everybody, and it's a beautiful thing when you watch them play, and it's fun and competitive and impressive, and it holds your attention, and it's all good. It's definitely worth the last year's game was worth the price of admission, and hopefully this year's is too. I'm sure it will be.
Absolutely, 100%. And then one last thing to keep your eye out for, as the longtime readers know, I am kind of on the basketball beat. We share all of our responsibilities here, but I'm on the basketball beat here at the Star. And I'm working on player rankings for early season, diving into that, talking to coaches, learning all about these teams, hot starts for teams like Thousand Oaks on the boys and girls side, the Oaks Christian girls team off to a super hot start. Ventura and Oak Park faced each other in tournament play, and Oak Park got a big win, that kind of super team that they've built over there with Charisma Lewis and Maya Deschâtel and that kind of stuff. So lots of fun stories coming out. Keep an eye out for that. And tonight, if you want to go watch history be made, courtesy of Derry Eads, we're kind of, whoever's watching live now, you're getting the first, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
The Ventura girls basketball program has won 999 games as of going into tonight's Channel League game against Pacifica in Bob Tuttle Gym. There's 999 program wins, so a chance to reach that 4-digit mark tonight with a win. An incredible program, and the craziest part of it all is that the only other program confirmed to have won 1,000 games is Buena, another team in the city of Ventura. Oh, I have you literally froze while I was doing my whole thing. That's crazy. Here, 1 second. No, that's how it works. It goes. Here, let me do it. You're back. We've learned to do this We've learned to do this fast at here at Prep Period.
Nice work. So yeah, I think you can just cut right to that.
Yep.
I think that was good. And then the Buena.
So Buena is the only other program confirmed in the history of girls basketball in the state of California to have 1,000 wins in program history. So it says a lot about
the city of Ventura.
About the city of Ventura, about basketball in Ventura, about girls basketball in Ventura. You can take it a lot of different ways, but just pretty incredible. And as a diehard hoops fan, pretty cool to come to Ventura for this job and have that level of history. It's just so fun to write about. So come out tonight, 7 p.m. Come catch that game. I will be there to witness history myself. Come say hey. Joe, we got anything else?
No, just congratulations to the Cougars and Coach Larson on getting to 1,000 wins whether it's tonight or whenever they win their next game. And that is, as somebody who has spent a lot of time at girls basketball games in the city of Ventura, it is, although it's an amazing stat, it is not a surprise. The great players, the epic games, the epic rivalry at the center of this. Ventura is a basketball town and is a special basketball town. As somebody who was born right next to where the Basketball Hall of Fame literally sits, it's a very special place, and I'm really excited to continue to follow basketball in Ventura County.
Awesome. Everybody keep an eye out for upcoming all-county teams from the Star. Joe and I are grinding away on those, on our Player of the Year features. Find out who the Star has selected as the Player of the Year for all of these fall sports, for flag, for football, for boys and girls cross country, boys water polo, girls volleyball, girls golf, girls tennis.
Good job, dude. I was waiting for you to
to trip up. Yeah, I saw that little glint in your eye. So keep an eye out for all of that. Keep an eye out for upcoming basketball coverage. Joe's going to be covering that All-Star game. Soccer coverage from Joe this winter. We're going to keep this podcast rolling into the winter season. Right. So follow along here. But yeah, I think that's it.
Good job, Dom.
Dom and Joe signing off on episode 18 of Prep Period. Talk to you guys next time.
It is a gift to Martin. Martin gets the first down and more. It's a nice little screen to the left-hand side. One play and see ya later. Caldera dives into the end zone. Touchdown Oxnard. What a fitting way to end that run. He's at the 40. He's at the 20. 10, 5, touchdown.